Welcome to the Motion Pictures. I'm your holy host, CineMan. I present to you calm, cool, collective motion picture reviews that can soothe you to sleep. So sit back, lay down, wind down, and enjoy. Coming out on April 12th, 2024, we start with what is disappointingly an American motion picture called Civil War, that is not about the 1860s popularly studied Civil War, but instead about a near-future one. The main characters are a group of press corps setting out on a cross-country road trip to take photos of a massive range of destructive militiamen and soldiers combating each other due to a highly oppressive, discriminatory president. They are led by a veteran journalist played by the hardly recognizable Kirsten Dunst, 17 years after last playing Mary Jane Watson in Spider-Man 3. At her reluctance, they bring along a young, inexperienced photographer played by Kaylee Spaney, aka Priscilla Presley in last year's Priscilla. Guess how much things go awry on this one, will ya? Clocking in at 109 minutes, it is rated R for strong violent content, bloody/disturbing images, and language throughout. Now keep the severity of that rating in mind after I get through the critic's opinion of Civil War. Here's how we're going to start the evaluation portion of the program. This is the professional opinion of the film. This is by the guys getting paid to write incredibly specific descriptions of the quality of cinema shows. After this, we will examine the smaller, more grounded thinkers. So, first of all, the journalists have this to say. They think Kirsten Dunst gives a good performance as a strong-minded professional that doesn't let her moral outrage interfere with the work. She is laser-focused on playing the eyes of the devastation and erosion of the land for the people instead of being too distraught to take the front row seat as she communicates to the team. And this is a distressing picture to take. It's a no-holds-barred portrayal of war and destruction. Is it Oscar-worthy? That is unknown. But as far as the story, it's a metaphor for today's polarized political and social America. It's an exaggeration of what could happen if the population let itself go, which many would think is a predicament that needs to be worked to prevent, even if never expected. Sometimes this feels like a zombie apocalypse flick. It shows a lot of depressed, devastated landscape. As far as the attitude of the flick, it is cold and callous. It cares too little about the casualties of war. And that is saddening, but it offers an objective quote-unquote viewpoint of the madness effectively to warn you, the people. Many would argue it's a necessary message to receive in today's State of the Union. Thus, its disturbingness gives you a mighty well-needed wake-up call to your senses. Stay civilized, America, it states. The professional critics of the land give the treacherous motion picture a 7.25 score of 10. Next, we explore the opinion of the casual motion picture watcher. Instead of acknowledging all the hidden messages the motion picture is trying to send, or the interpretable themes as a journalist will greatly analyze for you, this is just the opinion of the everyday man who doesn't come to the cinema to be intellectually stimulated, but rather just to escape the mundanity and insanity of real life. So here is a non-thinking man's review. Now, I thought going in that this was going to be maybe a fun, funny, or otherwise emotionally neutral little adventure based on commercial clips of the grown-up like Mike bully, Jesse Plemons, assuming him as a light-hearted character. But instead it turned out as a very violent, disturbing, painful to watch depiction of modern-day USA in massive turmoil. There's no humor, hope for humanity, or reason to enjoy life watching it. It's all about misery and the loss of what moral fabric the country used to have. It haunts me. It pains me to watch some victims, who you never find out are innocent or not, be tortured or murdered. As a non-spoiler, I give you that we either never find out the full reason for the war, or maybe we do finally find it out in the end. That is, the backstory that led to the nation's Mad Max status. We only get brief, vague tidbits throughout the body of the story. So stay tuned for the spoiler space for any such answers. Now, a major theme is what it's like being a wartime photographer in the whole picture. There's such a poignant point of journalistic advice given from Mary Jane to Priscilla Presley. They must not ask questions or be outraged, but instead just take the pictures so the world can do that instead. This is one of the upheld points of the Mary Jane Watson character that leads the smarties up above to name her a strongly performed character. Alternatively, this comment, among a few other traits, causes me to list her as less likable due to less ladylikeness. Expansively, thus, the flicker teaches by display what it's like to be a war photographer, but more so teaches me that I especially could never take up such a profession due to repulsion. I die inside at every assault on seemingly innocent life. It might drive me to suicide, in fact. These reporters strive to make welcoming acquaintanceships with many such evil subjects amidst their genocidal behavior, just to get the shots needed for the papers. I seethe in mind at such interactions. Our nation has turned into the Middle East here in Civil War, the motion picture, or an Asian communist coup country of sorts. No more one of law or order. It's unfathomable. It would have been better taking the Hotel Rwanda approach to film story by attempting not to be too gruesome to make you feel like you just journeyed through a legitimately painstaking war experience, but instead to take a more friendly, ungraphic approach to the subject, with a little humor to break the ice in between. An example of the needless overabundance of the theme of misery. An example of the needless overabundance of the theme of misery is a scene of Wagner Moura screaming uncontrollably after seeing some friends' deaths. The whole show is out of control in some ways. This motion picture isn't dead, and it isn't unworthy of any future dystopian rewatch, but it also wasn't necessary to be made as is. The Regular Joe scores the gloomy motion picture a traumatizing 4 out of 10. Now we move to the like section of the program, meaning the enjoyed positives. Here we have actually just a like section. There is only one positive to mention. One of the press team members and colleagues of Kirsten Dunst is Joe, played by Wagner Moura, whom I didn't recognize the entire time, likely because he must have lost lots of weight. He played the chubby Pablo Escobar on Narcos from 2015 to 16, where he offered the infamous plata o plomo to police and officials. While here the tables turn as he is an unarmed civilian, counting on the mercy of the lawbreakers. Now, we transition to the negatives of the motion picture Civil War. There are a lot of them. This is your dislikes section. Here we start with a point just mentioned of the photographers. None of them are armed. That is sad to say. Why don't any of them carry guns or even knives for protection? Anything would be nice. Yet here they are left just to beg for leniency if a hostile shooter doesn't take kindly to them. a poor safety plan when traveling across a far and wide national war zone. There's a specific scene where a weapon would have come in handy, involving the like Mike guy. Stay tuned for the reveal in the spoiler space. Now, next we go over a list of the savagely disturbing scenes. This is in no chronological order. So Mary Jane photographs someone being burned alive inside a tire by a gang. The photographers watch a shooting squad kills 3 people. Another pair of vigilantes killed 2 of the press corps team members for very discriminatory reasons. An unarmed political staffer unnecessarily gets killed during negotiations with rebels. The worst part, but not by far, is when the press team meets vigilantes that have captured 2 looters, quote unquote, who've been tied and hanging by their arms over the ground for 2 days, bloody and starving, scheduled to inevitably be killed anyway by them. It leads one to wonder why the writer-director Alex Garland is trying so hard to get his political point across. We next slightly transition to a section of the dislikes titled Dislike Spoilers. Still sticking with the unlikable parts of the motion picture, we go over issues that you wouldn't want to hear about if you were still planning to watch the feature film. So hit that off switch if you don't want to hear a little too much. Our first spoiler point is whether we ever find out the full backstory of the dystopian Civil War. And the answer, my friend, is a disappointing no. I greatly dislike such flicks, reminiscent of 2015's No Escape, for which the filmmakers didn't want to offend any Asian countries, thus omitting the name of the setting of the Death Squad massacre. There was a similar habit followed in 2022's Top Gun Maverick, where they didn't want to offend Iran by revealing it to be the enemy country Maverick and company fight off. Here, 2024's Civil War is a metaphor for today's vindictive politics in the US of A. And they vaguely show the bad guys as the president's supporters, comparable to the followers of Trump, without getting fully explicit about the comparison to not draw too much Trump-supporting ire. One of the president's siding riflemen is the Like Mike Bully from 2002, who along with 2 other militants detained the press team, demanding to know each of their countries of origin. He murders the 2 innocent Asian foreigners immediately after their answers. There's also a deus ex machina in this scene, where Sammy, the elder journalist, drives in to save the rest of the team from being murdered by those 3 vigilantes, who were actually loyalists to the president. That was not as satisfying a savior moment as could have been, due to the fact that they already lost 2 men, while at least one more of them was also almost killed, Joel the Hispanic. You could almost feel a tad of relief seeing this breakthrough, if not for both the aforementioned fact that the motion picture is so downbeat overall, as well as that again you're incredulous that they don't have offensive protection to discourage or counterattack such an assault when engaging on this supremely dangerous road trip, as mentioned in the non-spoilers. During this messianic scene, Sam, played by Stephen Henderson, who you may recognize from Lincoln, Fences, and Dune 2021, runs over one bad guy, gets the living journalist into his sous vide, but the other two killers stay alive to take pops at the getaway car. Sam is coincidentally the one fatality in this shooting. Mary Jane later takes a photo of his lifeless body in the duty of capturing every significant moment of the journey, as she should, but then again later deletes it out of great sadness. And unnecessary in my book. Forgive the made-up words, but such an image would only help me upkeep the memory of a good man. In the end, the rebel forces of the secession infiltrate the White House, killing the unarmed Secret Service in their way to reach the president in the Oval Office, easily executing him summarily. The unspecifiedly racist dictatorial commander-in-chief is played by the Nick Offerman, a comedic actor from a great many TV shows and flicks like Parks and Recreation and 21 and 22 Jump Street. The journalists don't get to interview him as originally planned, but they get his last words and a photo of his trophy corpse amongst the smiling enemy soldiers. It is a tad anticlimactic, as we never found out what exactly he did to make them want to murder him, or how they were able to succeed at their succeeding goals. Oh well, now where does America go from here, you wonder? And where does a CineMan go from here at that? Stay tuned, America. Thanks for taking a relaxation break to hear the review of Civil War. It has its moments of intrigue, but would have been way better shot under a kinder-hearted atmosphere, despite the violent subject matter. Or at least if it was shot in a more art house style like Sicario. Did you see it? What did you think? I hope I put you well to sleep, little ladies and gents. Good night, and cheerio. As a bonus refreshment, we send you out through our brief little CineMan blooper reel. Enjoy. Cut out, cut out, cut out. Check that. Sorry. Sorry. Oh, check that. Sorry. Shit. Sorry. What the hell does it say? Shit. Sorry. Shoot. Sorry. Try again. Again. Sorry. During this Messiah. Sorry. Again. During this Again. During this. Sorry. Sorry. Again. Shit, I need a word. An unnecessary. Sorry. An unnecessary. A necessity. and unnecessary in my book. Forgive the made-up words,